Hello, Camille here at the desk of Radio BVM today, and I'm very pleased to welcome a special guest. This Burnaby boy started in radio decades ago and just recently retired from leading the Broadcast and Media Communications Department at BCIT. A very warm welcome to Mr. Brian Atkinson.
Hello, 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 and glad to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So when did you start in radio? How did you come into this?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to, and I see Jack Cullen on the wall. I used to work with Jack. When I was a kid, I used to sing to the radio. I thought, well, I'm receiving this, and I'm 8 years old or something like that. I'm receiving this, and I'm listening to these people, and maybe if I sang back to them, they would hear me? No, it doesn't work that way. But I was living in hope that would happen. 1962, my father brought home from work an amplifier, a microphone, and what was known as an RCA 45 record player. So it was literally the size of a 45 record. And and a couple of speakers. And he said, this is what the disc jockeys use on the radio. And I thought, I could do that, because I listened to Red Robinson and Frosty Forst and all those guys. They were my idols. And so I could do that. So I sat down in my dad's den and I played this. And my first theme song was a thing by Bill Black's combo called Raunchy. Or Bill Justice, Bill Justice, called Raunchy. And I thought, this is what the disc jockeys do. I can do that. And there were 7 or 8 records, and that's all I had. And so I played those things. But I fell in love with it. And then got my own operation in my own basement, which eventually got into the P&E Hobby Show. And as I was saying to the group that I was speaking with earlier, when I went to university at Simon Fraser, they didn't have a radio station. So with a couple of buddies from high school, we started the campus radio station, which still exists today. And after my first year, I said, I just can't wait any longer. There's this new place called BCIT. It had only been open for 3 years. And I said, I got to go there and learn. And I did. So in 1967, I became a student at BCIT, and a couple of months later I was an operator at CKNW because NW was going to BCIT for all its operators. And so my first paycheck, I trained for a few weeks, and I think my first actual shift where I got paid for being in radio came in the last week of, or my first check came in the last week of December of 1967. So I can say that since 1967, not quite the summer of love, but since those days, I've been in radio, one way or another associated with it.
Yes, from many different sides of it.
Yep.
Leading the communications department.
Yeah, and that was the end of my career. I started off as an operator for the evening programs at CKNW. Moved in full time on graduation, and I became production was commercial production was my love. So I did on-air work and things like that, but it was really production that called me, and I became production director at NW in 1974. And then I moved on to teaching at BCIT at night school first, and then in the late 70s they called and said, would you like to come for day school? So I became a faculty member, instructor, then program head in radio, so what Randy Taylor has been up until now, Connies is in journalism and so on, and then head of the department in 1985, and then managed a radio station in Abbotsford for 2 years. I took a 2-year leave of absence, which you can do in academics, and managed a station in Abbotsford, worked with half the staff in Abbotsford were grads. So we had a staff of about 30. So
some
about
familiar
50
faces,
of them were
yes.
Yeah, many. Great time working with them. And we took a struggling operation that was number 6 in the local market. And a year later, we were number 1. Great teamwork, great effort. And we turned it around and started making a lot of money and all of that good stuff. And then I came back to BCIT as the head of the department. The associate dean was the official title, and did that for years until 2010 when I retired.
Wow. So since 1967 officially, gosh, you must have seen a lot over the years.
Oh, yeah.
In radio.
Yeah,
so how have things changed from what you've seen?
Many things have changed, and nothing has changed at all. And when I say that, because I'm asked this question a lot, when I say that, people say, what the hell are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. The way we do radio is different. The microphone that you're using is a microphone that I was trained on in 1967. And it was going out So you have it here as a period microphone. It was going out of use. Things were changing in 1967. This microphone looks to be very, very current. It's an Audio-Technica, a very well-known brand. And so this kind of microphone is very current. So the technology has changed. But both of them pick up our voices and we can record them. In my day, when I started, we were recording on reel-to-reel tape, sometimes on cassette tapes. We moved there to cartridge tapes. And so the whole tape-based economy or radio way of doing things was huge. These days it's all done, as you know, on a computer. So everything that you learned on at BCIT is completely different from what I learned on as a student. But what do we do with that equipment? We communicate. We communicate one-on-one. You and I are holding a conversation, and the people who are going to hear this are going to hear it. They might be 2 or 3 people, but they'll likely be alone, standing there listening to it. So it's a one-on-one communication. And if I play music and I say, here's the latest hit by Lady Gaga or something like that, I'm playing it for you. Now, I'm playing it for 50,000 people, but I'm playing it for you because you're alone in your car. And so that one-on-one communication, the information that I give you, because did you know what just happened this morning? There was a huge whatever someplace, and I got to tell you about that. There's a sale this afternoon, and only this afternoon at a certain store, and you can go there. All that stuff is one-on-one communication. So we're using different technology, but and there's different approaches, and certainly the music is different and so on. But what we're doing is communicating one-on-one, and that has not changed, and it will not change in radio.
So the more things change, the more they stay the same,
La
really.
touche la chance, whatever the Francais is. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, the essence of it really is.
That's right. One-on-one communication, entertaining, informing. These are bywords in broadcasting. And they have been since broadcasting got going here in Canada in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I wanted to ask you a bit about Burnaby's role in the advent of radio and your experiences. Did you meet any particular characters in and around Burnaby or
well, there's
stations? There's you,
Not
yes.
that I'm a character. Well, I see Jack Cullen's picture on the wall, and I was talking to the group here just a little while ago about the fact that Jack lived in Burnaby for most of his life and also ran his radio program on a nightly remote, in effect, from first of all a store in Brentwood and then a small facility in a mall just west of the Kensington interchange, west of Dairyland there. So Jack and many people who have worked in local radio who've lived here in Burnaby and today who are still in Burnaby and who participate in some way, in the fabric of broadcasting in the Lower Mainland. So yeah, there's lots of characters and Burnaby is a good place to, like the premier. Today's premier, Christy Clark, is a Burnaby South grad, and she was on the campus radio station at Simon Fraser University, which I started. I also started the one at BCIT, CKNW. Yeah, she was at NW. I was at NW when it was in New Westminster. It's now in downtown Vancouver. And there's all those changes and technology changes and everything have happened, but it's still doing the same thing as it always was.
And radio as a medium, how do you think that it differs from other forms of communication?
It's very personal. I don't think anybody would say the Global News Hour, which is the biggest gun in town. I don't think anybody would say they're my friends. But they would say that about a morning host. They would say that about some all-night person or whatever. Radio is very personal because it is usually one-on-one, and sometimes television is too. But it's like one person holding a conversation with you, just like we're holding now. It's just that we can't see each other, right? And so when you're on the radio, you have to imagine what that other person is like. And most people who've been on the air will imagine a number of different people. Because not everybody's the same, so they'll imagine old, young, dressed this way, dressed that way, whatever it might be, traveling in their car, sitting in their kitchen. You kind of imagine who you're talking to. But it is a very personal medium. No other medium is that way. Certainly, the internet is not personal at all. You might be flipping emails with somebody, posting to Facebook, and that's neat to do. And I'm not in any way denigrating from those things at all. Or taking away from them. What I am saying is that radio is the personal medium, and it works better than anybody else.
Agreed. Yes.
Good. As the host on BVM, you'd better agree.
Yes. Yes. Quite partial to radio.
Yeah, good.
All right. Well, this has been such an interesting chat, Brian. Is there any particular moments from your career that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I would say I emceed the convocation ceremonies for BCIT for almost a quarter century, I guess. And my proudest moments were watching my graduates, people who I'd taught, people who I had invested a lot of time and a lot of interest in, walk across that stage and get recognized. And so from a career, 40 some odd years point of view, I would say that those moments at BCIT were my proudest moments. I had a lot of fun in radio. I didn't want to leave it at all. When BCIT called and said, "I want you to come here," I had no desire to leave it because I was working with very creative people, had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of good production, awards, all that neat stuff. It's been kind of neat when people go on tours from BCIT of CKNW and they come back and they say, "I saw some awards there that they have your name on it." And that's years and years of awards that they've collected from everybody, and some of those are mine. So those are proud moments. I guess a proud moment was when I left BCIT. The BC Association of Broadcasters gave me the coveted Friend of the Industry Award, which isn't given out very often. It's not a regular thing, and it was a complete surprise. And Friend of the Industry Award, and I had several hundred people shaking my hand. It was kind of neat, So that is, that's kind of recognition for a job well done, I guess, over a half century.
Yes, but, all you've done, the campus stations.
Yeah.
CKNW,
And it's all
BCIT.
been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Making a difference is a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thanks again so much for joining us. This was
Glad
Brian
I was able to.
Antonson. Yes, thank you so much. And Camille signing off from Radio BVM.